All right, everyone, we are close to 1:30. Everyone, please be seated. All right, State, call your next witness.
State calls Holly Warden to the stand.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, if you could lower your hand, state your name for the record, and make sure you keep your voice up so that everyone can hear, please.
My name is Holly Warden, spelled HOLLIWORDEN.
State.
Warden, what do you do for a living?
I am a forensic scientist that specializes in firearm and toolmark evidence.
And what is a forensic scientist?
A forensic scientist is someone who analyzes evidence for the purpose of the law.
What are tool marks?
Tool marks, a tool mark could be anything caused by a harder object coming in contact with a softer object when it leaves markings. So those could be from things like hand tools or different parts of a firearm can also leave tool marks.
And who do you currently work for?
I work for the Bexar County Criminal Investigation Laboratory.
How long have you worked for the Bexar County Crime Lab?
I have worked there for over 3.5 years.
And what kind of, what is your educational background?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Forensic Science, and I'm currently a grad student working on my master's in Forensic Science.
And as part of your training, have you written any articles?
Yes, I've written 2 articles that were published in the Association of Firearm and Toolmark Examiners, or AFTE journal, on some bullet coding that I researched while I was in training.
What licenses or certifications?
I have a forensic analyst license through the Texas Forensic Science Commission, and I also have a firearm examination license or certification through Association of Firearm and Toolmark Examiners.
And what does a tool mark examiner do?
So a toolmark examiner examines firearms, tools, ammunition, and ammunition components. They function test firearms, perform microscopic comparisons on fired bullets, fired cartridge cases, or other tool marks. Other duties such as serial number restorations on firearms or muzzle to target distance determinations as well.
And have you testified as an expert before?
I have.
Roughly how many times?
Counting this one would be 14 times.
And when you do a firearm or tool mark examination, what does it teach that?
So what I do, firearm and toolmark examination, I'll receive a request to examine evidence. I pick up that evidence, sign it over into my custody, and then we have general procedures that we follow within our laboratory for each type of examination. We fill out worksheets to document all the information that we need for our examination, depending on what the examination is. And then after that, we generate our results and a report. We have our results verified by a second qualified firearm examiner, and they approve our results before we release those reports.
Now, is it possible to determine sometimes if a particular gun is fired or shell casing or bullet?
Yes,
And sometimes not, right?
that's correct.
And why not?
So depending on the evidence that I'm looking at and the quality of the evidence, as I mentioned, firearms can leave tool marks on the bullet and cartridge case. And depending on the quality of those, they may have limited tool marks present on them, or they may be in very good condition. Also depends on the firearm itself and how well it marks the bullet or cartridge case, and if those markings are reproducible.
And what are class characteristics?
So class characteristics are general characteristics that are part of a firearms manufacturer's design. So for example, a certain make and model of firearm is going to have certain features that all of the firearms of that same make and model are going to share. So that could be things like the shape of the firing pin or the shape of the hole that the firing pin comes out of. In the barrel, that could be things like the caliber that it's designed for. It could be the rifling type, such as the number of lands and grooves, the direction of twist in the firearm barrel. So those are features that a firearm of the same make and model is going to share.
What about individual characteristics?
Individual characteristics are imperfections or irregularities that are imparted on the firearm during its manufacturing process. So when a firearm is machined, there's tool marks that are performed on the surface of the firearm, and the surface of those tool marks are going to be irregular and random based on the manufacturing process. So when a firearm is fired, or when a firearm fires a cartridge, those markings from the firearm are imparted on the cartridge case and the bullet, and leave either impressions or scrapes or striations.
What are lands and grooves?
Striations.
Lands and grooves?
Yes. So when a bullet is fired, it passes through the barrel of the firearm, and inside the barrel is rifling. Rifling is spiralized grooves that are cut or impressed into the barrel. And the purpose of them is to impart spin on the bullet. So as the bullet passes through the barrel, it causes it to spin, and that keeps the bullet stable in flight. If you think about someone throwing a football and it spirals, that's to help it stay stable in flight. Whereas if the football tumbled, it wouldn't be as accurate. So the rifling imparts landing groove impressions on the surface of the bullet. The lands and grooves are the raised and lowered areas of that cut part in the barrel.
And I realize it's rather an obvious question, but guns are deadly weapons
Yes,
capable of causing death and serious bodily.
yes,
The gun is a device designed to expel a projectile by using energy generated.
I'm going to object to leading, Jen.
That'll be sustained.
Can you describe a gun, how it kind of operates?
yes. So a firearm is a device that fires ammunition through forces of combustion. So a firearm takes a cartridge, so that's an unfired unit of ammunition. Once that's loaded into the barrel of the firearm, pulling the trigger will cause a firing pin to strike the primary area of the cartridge. That causes a small explosion that ignites gunpowder inside of the cartridge case. Pressures build, and that's what pushes the bullet out of the cartridge through the barrel out of the firearm. The cartridge case will push with pressure as well, will push and cause extraction, ejection, or it'll be pulled out and kicked out of the firearm if it's like a semi-automatic firearm, for example. And then each time you pull the trigger, that will happen again, depending on the type of firearm.
Which direction does the shell casing eject?
Typically to the right, but it really depends on the type of firearm. Some will eject to the left, some will eject up. It really depends what type of firearm you're looking at.
And in terms of comparing shell casings to a weapon, the scientific theories that you use are generally accepted in the field of firearm examiner,
Yes,
and the techniques that you apply are valid and were properly applied in this case.
yes.
Now let me direct your attention to PIL 18-01116. Is that a unique case number?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is that a unique case number?
Yes, so our CIL number is the Criminal Investigation Laboratory number that the Bexar County Crime Lab puts on evidence from our particular case.
And does it relate to SAP number 18-023237?
Yes,
In regards to this CIL number and this SAP case number, did you receive evidence to examine in regards to Benito Gallegos and Angel Guevara,
yes, I did.
as well as Juan Martinez, Andres Martinez, and Richard Martinez?
Yes,
And what did you receive?
I received quite a bit of evidence. I had several fired cartridge cases, some fired bullets, unfired ammunition. I had several firearms as well.
Now, when the evidence comes to the crime lab, how does it come to the crime?
So the submitting agency will submit it to the evidence receiving section of our laboratory. They sign it over into their custody. And then once I receive a form, an evidence submission form, then I assign that case to myself, go and retrieve the evidence from them, I sign it over into my name and into my custody and pick it up.
And the evidence that you collected, is it generally sealed in a sealed container?
Yes, the evidence is sealed and initialed by whoever sealed it.
So when you pick up the evidence that's sealed, where do you keep it at the crime lab?
So once I pick it up, I take it back to the firearm lab where I work, and we have a locked vault that we store evidence in temporarily while we're working a case. And I keep it there when I'm not examining it.
And is this a secure location
Yes,
with limited access?
yes, it is.
So if some random person tries to go back or what happens?
I mean, they're not gonna necessarily be able to without the key to get in that room. So if we're not there, that room's going to be locked.
Now, when you finish with the evidence, what do you do with it in terms of you bag it, you tape it, what happens?
Yes, once I've completed the case and released the report, then I can repackage the evidence and I put everything back in the envelopes or packages that came in. I seal it, put my initials and date on that seal. And then as it's complete, then I take it back to the evidence receiving section, assign it back into their custody, and they take control of it from there.
So it goes back to the police department.
After that, eventually it would, yes.
Mayor Hirsch?
Yes.
Let me show you what's in MONTEZ State's Exhibit number 409. You recognize it.
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
This was my a copy of my firearms report that I generated on my examination of this evidence.
And are you the custodian of record for this document?
Yes,
And do you keep this document in the regular course of your business?
yes,
And you have actual knowledge of this document because you're the one that wrote it?
yes, I do.
And you wrote it at or near of the event that it reports?
Yes,
And this would be a copy of what you have.
yes.
I would tender what's in MONTEZ State's Exhibit 409. Offered the evidence at this time.
We have no objections, Judge.
All right, State's Exhibit number 409 is admitted without objection.
Fair to say a large number of evidence came into your office.
Yes.
Let me show it to you. Let me begin by showing you State's Exhibit number 244. And can you tell me what's in State's Exhibit 242?
So it's an outer envelope that contains additional envelopes inside that would contain fired cartridge cases and some fired bullet evidence.
Feel free to take them out.
I noticed some of them may have been open and some are not open.
So roughly inside the state's exhibit number 244, how many small envelopes are there?
Let's see, there should be 15.
And you recognize these envelopes?
I do recognize them. They have the CIL number, the item number, my initials and the date that I examined them, as well as my when I sealed and dated them after my examination.
And you would have sealed them when you were done with them unless another witness opened them, correct?
Yes.
Well, we can keep it separate. So you look at Mark the state's exhibit 245. And how many envelopes are in the state's exhibit 245?
Let's see, it should be 18 envelopes.
And do you recognize the envelope?
I also, yes, I do recognize envelopes for the same reasons. My CIL number, item numbers, initials and dates of examination are on there.
You may want to put them back in the envelope, otherwise you're going to get
Okay.
more confused. And these would be shell casings and bullets, things like that.
Yes, cartridge cases, bullets. Yes.
Let me show you also what's been marked as state's exhibit number 288 and 396, 2 bullets from the ME's office. And you recognize these 2 exhibits.
I do recognize these, and they have the CIL number, my item numbers, initials, and date of examination, and my tape seal that was on them.
And so all these things were sealed when you examined them, correct?
Yes.
And then you opened them, you examined them,
Yes,
then you put them back in and sealed.
yes, I did.
And did the AR rifle make it to the crime line?
I had an AR type rifle.
Maybe what's marked as exhibit number 259, you recognize that?
Yes, I do. Do recognize it. You want me to take it out or anything?
How do you recognize?
Oh, so it has the CIL number, item number, initials, and date on it.
And that would be the rifle that you looked at?
Yes.
Can hand you a few more weapons.
Okay.
Some miscellaneous items, did you get 252? What would that be?
Doesn't look like something I examined.
Probably ammunition.
Yes, that's what it says.
About States Exhibit 243.
So I see the CIL number, item numbers, my initials and date on this as it should contain a magazine and some cartridges.
And 258.
It's also a magazine and some cartridges. It has the CIL number, item number, my initials and date on it.
253.
This also has the CIL number, item numbers, initials, date on it as one of the firearms that I looked at.
$254.
This also has a CIL number, my item number, my initials and date on it as one of the firearms that I examined.
Which one?
This is my item 7-1, which was a 40 caliber Glock pistol.
And 255.
This one is also has CIL number, item number, my initials and date on it as a Smith & Wesson pistol that I examined.
257.
This also has a CIL number, item number, my initials and date on it as a Taurus pistol that I examined.
$248.
This also has CIL number, item number, initials and date on it as some cartridges, unfired.
I'll take the rifle back. I don't want to. Now, in terms of the examination of the shell casings and the weapons that were provided, were you the first firearms examiner to look at it, or was there another one?
There was another firearm examiner that previously looked at this evidence.
And who was that?
That was someone by the name of Steve Saucedo.
Mr. Salcedo, does he crime lab anymore?
No, he does not.
And so because he no longer works there, you had to redo his work.
Yes.
And that happens sometimes when firearm examiner leaves crime lab.
Yes, if it's known that it's going to be going to court at some point, then someone else has to just rework the evidence that is able to testify.
So in terms of the shell casings that you were provided, were you able to link them to particular weapons?
I was able to link them to several weapons, depending on which cartridge case it was.
Let's give them the 40 caliber.
Okay. And I did have two 40 caliber firearms.
In terms of the Smith & Wesson,
The Smith & Wesson Sigma series, semi-automatic pistol. Just double checking. I did not have any cartridge cases that went with that firearm.
what about the 40 caliber Glock?
Yes. I did have several fired cartridge cases that I determined were fired in that firearm due to agreement of all discernible class characteristics and sufficient agreement of individual characteristics.
So in terms of making the link, what exactly do you look for?
So I look at the tool marks, specifically the class characteristics and individual characteristics. In the laboratory, we have an instrument called a comparison microscope, which is essentially two compound microscopes connected by something called an optical bridge. It allows you to look at two items at the same time and at the same magnification. So, for example, once I test fire a firearm, or in that case, this Glock pistol, I collect the fired cartridge cases that I fired that I know were fired in it because I fired them. I use those as my knowns that I compare to the unknowns. The unknowns would be the cartridge cases in this case that had the same class characteristics. Once I compared those cartridge cases with the same class characteristics, I evaluate the individual characteristics while using the microscope. And at that point, I'm looking at patterns of individual characteristics. It's essentially a form of pattern matching. If I see sufficient agreement between those question items and my known test fires, I can form the conclusion that they were fired in that firearm.
In terms of the shell casings that were linked up, you were able to link to the Glock 40. How many were there?
There seems to be 24 cartridge cases.
And are you able to go through bag and identify which ones you were able to link to 24
I can.
and identify the item number?
Yes, I could. So from States Exhibit 245, which was my container one, I had items 1-2, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6, 1-7, 1-8, 1-9, 1-11, 1-13, 1-14, 1-15, 1-16, 1-17, 1-18. And then,
On those envelopes, is there an SAPD item number?
oh, yes, I can read that. Item 2, item 4, item 5, item 6, item 7, item 8, item 9, item 11, item 13, item 14, item 15, item 16, item 20, and item 22.
With all that's the block.
Yes, those were all fired in that Glock pistol. And then there was also some from one of these other packages. And in this other package, which was States Exhibit 244. I have, so my item numbers were 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-5, 2-6, 2-7, 2-8, 2-9, 2-10, and 2 oh, I'm sorry. 2-7, 2-8, 2-9, 2-10, 2-12. Those were the SAPD numbers 35, 38, 39, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, and 53.
These were shell casings that you were able to say were fired from the 40 caliber block.
Yes,
And you see the 40 caliber block up there?
I did.
The firearms is there.
Yes. Firearm is safe.
You were able to determine that those shell casings were fired from that one.
Yes. That was the SAPD number 26, States Exhibit 254.
You also see the next weapon, a 9mm Springfield armor.
Just confirm. This brings,
Eight dash one.
yes, 8-1 and the item 27. Do you want me to take it out? Firearm is safe.
So in terms of this particular 9mm, were you able to link any shell casings to this weapon?
Yes, I was. Six cartridge cases.
And what were their SAPD item numbers?
See, number 10. 52. 18. 18, there were two that were 18. 19 and 19.
But 6 total.
Yes.
And what about the 9mm Taurus?
That was my item 9-1. And then there were 2 cartridge cases. And that's, that firearm is States Exhibit 257, item number 57. Safe.
What were the SAPD item numbers?
For the cartridge cases,
Right, for the Taurus.
for the Taurus, that was. Well, there was one that was labeled 12. And one that was labeled 40.
So from the evidence that was collected, you were able to bring 2 shell casings that were ejected from the 9mm Taurus,
That were fired from that firearm, yes.
and then 6 shell casings from the Springfield 9mm,
Yes.
and 24 from the 40 caliber Glock.
Yes.
And you have the 2 bullets that were given from the ME's office.
I do.
What can you tell me about them?
So one of them was my item 15-1. It was labeled BCME head on it. There is a ME number. I think it's hard to read. It may be a 340. And there was another one that was item 25-1. It was labeled BCME. And the number on that looks like 465. And both of these had the same class characteristics. Just refer to my notes. I determined both of them were fired from a 40 caliber firearm that had polygonal style rifling, 6 lands and groups with a right twist. So that has the same class characteristics as the 40 caliber Glock pistol. And I performed microscopic comparisons on both of those to tests fired from that Glock 40 caliber pistol. And I determined that the item 15-1 bullets, which is States Exhibit 288, they determined that that was fired from the Glock pistol due to agreement of all discernible class characteristics and sufficient agreement of individual characteristics. And then the other bullet, 25-1 States Exhibit 396. That one I could neither identify nor eliminate as having been fired from the Glock pistol due to having the same class characteristics, but having insufficient individual characteristics.
Now, if I may first.
Yes.
One. Okay, so in terms of States Exhibit 25-1, you were not able to match it. Is that because bullet degrades, or how's that work?
So depending on what it strikes and the condition it's in, some of those tool marks may become damaged, or there may be additional scrapes on top of them that limit the areas and the markings that I can look at to form that conclusion.
But in terms of States Exhibit number 288, what you've identified as your 15-1, you were able to match that?
Yes, I was able to determine that it was fired from the Glock pistol.
And that matches what you got from the ME's office in terms of 2018-0340.
Yes,
That would be from the autopsy of Angel Guevara.
that's what I see there. Yes,
So you were able to match the bullet that killed Angel to that particular gun.
I determined that that bullet was fired from that firearm. Yes.
But the other bullet from the other autopsy of Benito Gallegos, there were insufficient characteristics to make the match.
Correct.
If you can tell it was what kind of bullet from the other one?
Yes, so they both had the same class characteristics, the polygonal style rifling, the style and the type includes the Glock 40 caliber pistols, so you can't eliminate that as a possible firearm.
But it wouldn't, were you able to eliminate like a 9mm?
Oh, yes, so other calibers, different firearms with different class characteristics would all be eliminated.
Now, if someone claimed that someone fired a shotgun, that would obviously not be a shotgun.
Correct.
The shotguns, how do they operate?
So shotguns fire shot shells, so it can contain a few different things, but commonly it's associated with small little pellets of lead or steel that come out of the barrel of a shotgun. A shotgun does not have the rifling on it. And otherwise there can be slugs, which are like look like really large bullets, for example.
Now, originally, Mr. Salceda, did he announce?
Yes,
And were there any differences?
yes.
What were those differences?
From what,
Objective relevance, Judge.
That's fine.
That'll be, all right, you're withdrawing question?
Yes, Judge.
Right.
In addition to you reviewing it, do you have a supervisor
I do.
and do they review your findings?
Yes, so they did a review and also verification of all of the microscopic comparisons that I did. So they look at all those items on the microscope as well. And we determine if we come to the same conclusion.
A rather obvious question. You have, for example, unfired ammunition. What would you have done with it?
Typically, I just look at the unfired ammunition, determine the caliber, like what caliber of firearms that could fire it, or if any of the firearms I submitted could have fired it, that like if it's suitable for those types of firearms. Occasionally, we'll be asked to perform some microscopic comparisons to see if it was cycled in a firearm, so like loaded and then ejected out without firing it.
Were you able to examine any 223 unfired bullets?
I did look at some 223 unfired cartridges.
Did you notice anything?
Let's see if I can find it. Don't remember anything significant. Just that they were suitable for like 223 or 5.56 by 45 caliber firearms.
Would you be able to determine whether or not they've been someone tried to fire them?
If it were something that was requested for me to do, I could have looked at to see if it had been previously in a firearm or not. I may have made notes. I know I noted one cartridge had, in my notes, I wrote that it had 2 dents in the body of it. So like 2 indentions. So you have the brass or the metal cartridge case. And so other than that, that's all I wrote, that had 2 dents in it. So I don't know for sure what caused the dents.
It could have been caused by someone attempting to fire.
I'm not sure.
Also, a piece of lead 2-15 that you were asked to examine. Did you able to find anything there?
I just noted that it was of no value for firearm identification. So that means I didn't see any like tool marks on it that I would use to compare. I couldn't tell you anything about it other than it looked like a piece of lead.
Essentially, in terms of the shell casing, 24th, the 40 Glock, 2 casings matched the 9mm Taurus, and 6 matched the 9mm Springfield arm.
Well, I'm sorry, what was the initial part of that question?
The shell casings that you were able to match. 24 from the Glock 40,
Yes,
6 from the Springfield Armory,
yes,
and 2 from the 9mm Taurus.
yes,
And you were able to match the bullet from Angel Guevara to that particular 40 caliber Glock.
yes.
Springfield's a 9mm, correct?
That firearm, let's see, so that is item 8-1 was a 9mm.
you look at the other weapons other than those three, bigger handguns and the rifle?
Let's see. I looked at 5 firearms total.
And the other 2 firearms that you looked at?
So there was there was a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, and then there was a 223 caliber, the Palmetto State Armory firearm. And then there was the Taurus, the Springfield, and the Glock.
I pass witness.
Defense.
Ms. Warden, you received 2 items from the medical examiner's office, is that correct?
Yes.
And both of those items, when you tested them, were 40 caliber bullets, is that right?
Yes.
Now, the evidence you received was all the evidence that was available to you, is that right?
So yeah, everything that was requested of me, I examined.
Okay, and so if this was a closed off area, it was sealed off from, other people coming in and firing weapons and such. Everything that was there should have been in your hand, right?
Yes, everything that was requested of me.
And the reason I'm saying this is because you weren't able to identify one of those bullets that entered into Mr. Gallegos because it didn't have lanes and groove. Is that right?
So do you know which item you're referring to?
Well, it's the 140 caliber bullet that you were unable to identify belonging to a particular 40 caliber. It's 5.1, 25.1.
So 25-1. So that one did have lands and grooves on it. It did have the rifling characteristics from a firearm, but the features were insufficient for me to determine the very specific firearm that fired it.
Okay, so you weren't able to eliminate the Glock 40 from firing that projectile, correct?
Correct.
But you can eliminate the other guns because they didn't, the other guns, I guess, available to you were 9mm, right?
So the other ones, there was the 2 9mm. I had the 1 223 caliber, and I had one other 40 caliber firearm. However, that one had a different class characteristic. So the rifling was completely different.
Okay, so there was a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, is that right?
Yes.
You were able to, I guess, distinguish that the projectile 25-1 did not come from the Smith & Wesson?
That's correct.
Okay. And so if we only have a limited number of guns in this crime scene, by process of elimination, it would lead you to believe that the projectile was fired from that Glock 40, right?
That would be the only possible one from the list that I received.
Now, you received some 223 bullets, is that right?
So unfired cartridges or ammunition.
And when you say unfired, that means they're full metal jackets, right?
I mean, typically for that caliber, they would be full metal jacket. I'd have to look
Well, I guess
specifically.
what I mean is they haven't been spent. They're not fired cartridges, right?
Right, they're not fired.
And so you also, did you receive any shotgun shells?
I don't think so.
Did you receive a shotgun?
I did not know.
Now, if somebody were to say that Benito Gallegos having only one projectile enter into his body, if it was from a shotgun slug, would you have your doubts about that statement?
So if it was a shotgun slug, you're asking if I would have doubts that,
That it was a shotgun that actually entered into the body.
not if it looked like something from a shotgun, I would.
But the only projectile you received was something that was a 40 caliber, right?
Right.
And so if somebody told you that it was actually a shotgun slug, would you believe them?
No, and I would wonder like why I hadn't looked at it as well.
I mean, if somebody told you that it was a 223 bullet projectile that entered in Mr. Gallegos' body, would you believe them?
If we're referring to The item that I looked at,
Yeah.
I would say it's not, it can't be.
Okay. How about the projectile that entered into Mr. Guevara?
Was that the
15-1.
Was-
15-1.
15 one? So that's also 40 caliber.
And in your evidence, you didn't find any unspent 223, is that right?
That's right.
You have some, I guess, training you said in regards to firearms, is that right?
Yes,
In part of your training, did you take any classwork in regards to shooting reconstruction?
I have taken a little bit of shooting reconstruction.
And so can we learn some things from a crime scene by the pattern of bullets?
Potentially.
Now, if bullets are fired in one area, would you agree it's safe to say that those bullets were fired from approximately near where the cartridges are, as opposed to 30 feet away?
So are you asking about like fired cartridge cases?
Sure.
Where they're
If
located?
there's fired or spent casings on the ground, those casings don't travel very far from the gun, right?
They can travel. It just really depends what they hit or what they land on. You know, with the cylindrical shape, they strike something, they could go land in different directions. If it's depending on the surface that they land on, they might roll. So we don't necessarily pinpoint a location just based on where cartridge cases were found.
Okay, but I mean, it's more likely that they were shot 2 to 3 feet from the location they're found than 20 feet. Would you agree?
I mean, it does depend. 2 to 3 feet might be closer, but they can definitely go further than that.
And we met this past summer, did we?
Yes.
And you said typically guns will discharge about 2 to 3 feet.
Okay. I mean, it definitely can be that. It can be more than that.
Okay. Now, did you test these firearms for how far they discharge or eject those casings?
No.
Okay. So you have no way to tell whether or what distance the ejection of these casings are.
No, it's not something that I measured.
Question.
Yes.
Now, the state has entered in evidence a diagram with the item numbers of the casings. I'm showing you State's Exhibit 8. If I may, we're going to publish Defense Exhibit 5. Now, in your report, you list all of the items by one number, and then you mark it with the police item number. Is that correct?
I do list whatever numbers on the envelope that I receive as well.
Now, you said there were 6 cartridges fired from the XD Springfield 9mm. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, and the reason I gave you the sheet from the state is that it's clear. Can you find on that sheet the corresponding item number to the XD?
On the one, the State's Exhibit 8.
Correct.
Okay. I can try.
Like, and I might be able to help you locate that.
Okay.
If you look in this area here, maybe
110. So I got a 10. 11. 10, 52. 18. 10, 52, 18. So
Okay,
those
and if
three are
you-
together.
If you look to the screen to your left, do you see the corresponding item numbers marked in blue?
Okay, yes.
Okay. And so those were from the XD 9mm, is that correct?
Let me just verify another one real quick. 19. There's one labeled 12 here. I'm trying to find.
Yeah, I believe 12
Oh, okay.
was identified as
1, 2,
the
1. Okay. Oh, that's a different 9. Yeah, that's a different firearm. So
So can you circle the XD9 caliber on the screen there, casings? Or at least
okay.
you can circle the entire area.
Is it touch screen?
It's a touch screen,
Okay.
it'll mark in red. Okay. And those all came from which gun?
So that was the 8-1 pistol, which was 27 Springfield Armory XD9.
Okay. And then there was 2 9mm casings that you tested, and they came from a Taurus, is that right?
Yes.
Item 1-12-1 and item 2-4?
Yes.
Okay. Can you find those on the screen as well and underline?
Yes. Sorry.
Now, what we're looking at is a grouping of 9mm casings from the same weapon, is that right?
Yes.
The ones you circled?
Yes.
And then you underline 2 casings from a Taurus 9mm, right?
Yes.
And according to that diagram, they were fired in, or at least they were found in 2 separate locations. Is that right?
That's what it appears.
Okay, now, all the other markings are red. Those are 40 caliber, is that right?
The diagram seems to list 40 caliber as red.
Okay. And so the only casings you have were 9mm 40 casings, is that right?
Yes.
And all the 40 casings that you found came from one gun, is that right?
Yes.
And so according to that, the casings were found, what would appear to be in a spread out pattern. Would you agree?
It would be helpful to know maybe what type of distance I'm looking at here, but I mean. I see-
Well, and so if those are 3 separate apartments, it's safe to say they were found in front of 3 different apartments, the 40 caliber, right?
Yes, if those boxes are supposed to be that much distance, then yes.
And you're saying that you can't tell anything from the pattern of these casings as to how a fire fight may have happened?
I mean, generally, there may have been some movement for some of them.
And quite possibly movement or non-movement from others?
I mean, that's possible.
Now, certainly the group of 9mm from the XD that you circled, those are in close proximity to one another, is that right?
It appears to be in closer proximity, yes.
And that kind of tends to say that those shots were quite possibly fired from the same location or approximately the same location, right?
That may be so, assuming they weren't moved or set there.
And so the 2 9mm shot from the Taurus were shot from what appears to be two different sidewalks, right?
It appears to be two different locations that they were located.
And the 40 caliber, there's a large number of shots fired from one location, and then another large number of shots fired at another location. Do you agree?
That's what it looks like as far as where the cartridge cases landed or were located.
Now, in fact, the Springfield cartridges were found or brought to you in one exhibit number or one envelope. Is that right?
The Springfield ones, have to confirm that. A couple of them were, there were two sets of envelopes that had two in it, like two together. So those ones would be my items. I had a 321 and a 322 and a 311 and a 312. And I number those based on, they're both in the same package and I have to give them unique numbers.
From the evidence you have, it's safe to say that the Glock 40 caused the death of the two individuals in this case, right?
I mean, I can't determine the cause of death, but based on they being like autopsy bullets.
Okay, well, so it's safe to say from the evidence that you have and from your examination that the 9mm did not penetrate either of the two complainants in this case.
If they were not recovered from autopsy, then as far as penetrating, as far as being found in the autopsy,
Right.
I'm not aware of that they would have been in that location.
You only had two projectiles that were retrieved from the ME's office, one from each individual, right?
As far as I understand, based on how they were packaged.
These casings here, do they tell you a story as to when they were fired?
Not necessarily, no.
Are you able to determine, I guess, whether they were fired in rapid succession or in periods of 20 seconds, 30 seconds?
No.
The likelihood that the XD 9mm casings casings were found, the likelihood that they were fired in quick succession is high since they were in a tight grouping.
I don't know.
It's probable, though. Wouldn't you agree?
I couldn't say, I wouldn't be able to say no to that, but I have no idea of knowing how fast they were fired or if someone fired there, left and came back. There's not a way to know that.
So the 9mm, both of them, the magazines that were used for those guns, you know how many bullets they held?
So I know I didn't receive magazines for every firearm.
So then I guess you don't really know which magazine was used for the 9mm, is that right? For either of the 9mm.
So both the Springfield Armory and the Taurus pistol, I test fired without a magazine because I didn't receive one with them.
You received a 40 caliber drum magazine.
Yes.
Do you know how many bullets were inside that drum? The drum.
Let's see. My notes indicate the drum magazine could hold 50. And
When you received that drum, were the bullets inside of it?
I think they were packaged with it, but not loaded inside of it. But there were 34 .40 caliber unfired cartridges that were in that same package with the drum magazine.
So we don't know how many were actually in that drum magazine at the time that it was used.
I don't, because it's based on how I received it, what I'm gonna note down.
Pass the witness.
Shell casings that you were provided, you were able to match 3 guns, correct?
Yes,
That was the 40 caliber Glock, 9mm Springfield, and the 9mm Taurus.
yes.
And for these weapons, when you fire those weapons, the casings typically eject the right.
Typically, they just can confirm. All 3 of those firearms, the general ejection is to the right.
That's what it is.
Your further question.
All right, is this witness excused or subject to recall?
Excused?
Excuse Judge.
All right, the rule has been invoked. The only persons you can speak to are attorneys for the state and the defense. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And she needs to sign. Is there anything for you to sign? All right.
Yeah.
And state is going to be your next witness?
You're on record for comment?
Yes. Right now, and we'll be back at 3:15. Remember, no research. You all should be able to repeat this in your head. No research. Everything that you need to know about this case will come from inside the courtroom. Make sure your badges are visibly displayed. If you see anything, hear anything, ignore it. All right, everyone, we'll be back at 3:15. Everyone, please rise for the jurors.
Mhm.
All right, and then while we're on break, we'll take up your plea. All right. And Mr. Stevens is here. What is he here to tell me his daughter's only 2? How old is she now?
22. That's flat.
It does. But you know what? Even though she is now 22, we still look the same age.
You and I do.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest. All right, so defense, my understanding is they're going to bring out a witness. So Deputy Lawyer, as soon as we get the other deputy, their witness is the inmate. Oh, yeah, so after he finishes, then we'll bring out Mr. Featherson's client.
That was,
No, Mr. Martinez is a witness.
oh,
Yes, I was like, what?
I'm getting confused.
Yes, but I do need his client as well.
Mr. Coon's gonna represent the state in this matter. I'm joking. Yeah,
Yes,
do we need to get a,
yes, we do.
okay, I should have.
No problem.
He knows.
And then defense. With regards to your attachment of a witness, we're trying to get an attorney here to represent them. So we can put everything on the record.
Let me check.
All right, thank you. Ah. Here he is. Brenda, you said his name.
Like really fast.
Brenda, you said his name 3 times and he
Oh, yeah,
appeared.
that's Superman.
He doesn't know what-
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. He's not there.
I signed everything that was up
Okay,
there.
what are we gonna do about this? I gotta get with them or what did you know? No, me or. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, she do that.
Okay.
I would just wait right here. I think it's fine.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Argue me.
Hey, you're needed here in court.
And.
Okay, thanks. Give it back. So, no, you did not. So what time will committee speak? At? Okay. 45 minutes from now. Okay. All right. I just want to do this before the end of today. We're doing this plea right now. Oh, okay. We'll take that up.
Yes.
All right, court is, oh, Brittany, you ready? Court is calling 2022 CR 11474W, State of Texas versus Amanda Argumedo, AKA Destiny Argumedo. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state
Marcus Sanders.
defense?
Good afternoon, Judge. Dirk Ashball, Nicholas Argumedo. We are ready.
All right, and are you Miss Argumedo?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, I'm showing you the discovery acknowledgement. Have you received all the discovery in this case, and did you review it with your client?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, excited.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Ms. Argumedo, I'm showing you what's entitled application for deferred adjudication or community supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, sir.
Next, I'm going to show you what's entitled waiver of indictment, reading of information and rights under Article 1.051 and 26.03 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand you have a right to have a grand jury hear the evidence in this case and make a decision on whether or not to indict?
Yes, sir.
Did you also understand that your attorney has certain rights, namely 2 days from the presentation of the information and 10 days from the presentation of the information to prepare for jury trial? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up or waiving those rights?
What was that, sir?
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up or waiving those rights?
Yes.
And did you intend to give up and waive those rights and enter into a plea today?
Yes.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived indictment, reading of information and rights under Article 1.051 and 26.03 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Next, I'm showing you what's entitled information. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the information?
Yes, I do.
State, are you proceeding on the information as presented?
Yes, Judge.
Next, I'm showing you what's entitled court admonishments. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand that you're being charged with the offense of unauthorized use of a vehicle? That's a state jail felony. Range of punishment is anywhere from 180 days up to 2 years in the state jail facility and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yes.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court does not follow your agreement and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call and the right to remain silent?
Yes.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up those rights?
Yes, sir.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea bargain agreement in this case?
Yes.
Did you understand if the court were to grant your application for deferred adjudication, if for any reason your deferred adjudication were revoked, the court could find you guilty and sentence you up to 2 years in the state jail facility and up to a $10,000 fine? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Yeah.
Do you believe she has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against her?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe she's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Yes.
Ms. Agamito, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea bargain agreement?
No.
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes, sir.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived her right to jury trial. Showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, sir.
According to the plea bargain agreement, state is recommending deferred adjudication. They're taking in consideration county court cause number 687-991, 696-305, grand jury number 777-818. There's restitution, if any, to Ralph Sanchez and no contact with Ralph Sanchez. Did you understand that to be the plea?
Yes, sir.
Defense,
Yes, Judge.
state?
Yes, Judge.
Showing you the paragraph entitled waiver of appeal. Did you review that paragraph with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in both places?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, are there any such motions?
There are none.
Next, I'm showing you outside the plea bargain agreement, the state is requesting that your deferred adjudication be for a term of 3 years. There be a TAP evaluation, 120 hours of community service restitution, CATS 1 and 2, and moral recognition therapy. Did you understand those are recommendations from the state and the court does not have to follow those recommendations? Then to the offense as charged in the information, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No comment.
State any evidence?
Yes, state offer states exhibit 1 and attachment. No, no objection.
I'm showing you what's entitled waiving consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, sir.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call and the right to remain silent?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there will be no live testimony? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence states exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, after reviewing states exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty. The court will defer finding of guilt as you apply for deferred adjudication. Are you proceeding to sentencing?
Yes, sir.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
Judge, I just asked that the court follow the agreement. This argument does, I think, want to do probation, so I think it's a great opportunity for her to maybe get some things together. And that's it.
All right, do you have any children?
I do have 2 baby girls, a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old,
Where are they?
with their father.
Why are they not with you?
Because 2 years ago, I had a fallout with drugs. So he decided to go ahead and take baby girls. I wasn't in my right mind. I was actually like going through like mental health problems, delusions as well. But everything is well now with me and my daughters and with the father.
All right, when's the last time you had employment?
About like 2 months ago,
Doing what?
I was cabinetry, a nation's cabinetry.
How far did you go in school?
Up to 10th grade.
Why didn't you graduate?
I had moved to where is it, Detroit, Michigan.
And what are you planning on doing with the rest of your life?
I'm not sure. I really do want to get my GED though.
Okay. And what drugs have you been using in the past?
In the past, I did meth for 2 weeks. I had got involved with it for the whole 2 weeks for the fact that I was on, and when I tried it for the first time, I didn't know how to like stop from it because I was awake. I was awake and I was up for all those days and I stayed up for 2 weeks straight. And I was scared to get back on. Like I honestly, I was scared. I was losing my mother and everything just by thinking she was talking to me and things like that. And
Okay, and what's the tattoo on your cheek? The one with the jewel tone?
right here,
Yes, what is that tattoo?
oh, it's right now. I was very drunk when I got it. I tried to take it off.
What does it
and
say?
It's not right now.
Oh, so murder spelled backwards.
Yes, but I'm not, I can't even feel a roach without wanting to throw up.
Okay, so and what is up with this gun that's tattooed on your neck?
Yeah, that was, okay, I was drunk. I got this, and one, oh, this one right here. Like, you can't even tell what it is.
Okay, so that was done while you were intoxicated?
Yes, this happened about 6 years ago.
Okay. And where is your family?
My family, my mom, she's doing her thing. She works. She's going through a divorce actually right now. My kid's father, he works, he's going to college. He goes to college. Baby girl, she's in school, my oldest, and they're doing fine. They're good.
All right. So here's the thing. They want you to take cats 1 and 2. I'm going to give you conditions that hopefully will help you. So I'm going to give you cats 1 and 2 right now. I'm going to make you take the moral recognition therapy, but here's cats 1 and 2. Don't steal. Don't take what doesn't belong to you. And as a side to the class that I give people, the other thing is don't go to a place unless that person who owns the place or has control of the place invites you. Don't go if a third person invites you. And if you do show up at someplace and someone who invited you asks you to leave, leave. If you follow those rules, you will do just fine. And here's another rule as a side note. In my experience, I've discovered that nothing good happens after midnight. You have children, you need to make sure you're home before midnight. If you're home before midnight, usually nothing bad will happen. You understand?
Yes, Mom.
The moral recognition therapy, my understanding, that's to tell you to do what's right. It's something that people should have learned in preschool, kindergarten, or at least first grade. So when they give you that moral recognition therapy, I'm sure it's going to talk to you about not taking things that don't belong to you.
Yes, Mom.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. It's going to be 3 years deferred adjudication. There's to be regular reporting by Zoom or in person. Take in consideration County Court cause number 687991, 696305, grand jury number 777818, restitution and no contact with Ralph Sanchez. I'm going to do the UA hotline, and she needs to test at least once a week. I'm going to want sober meetings, 90 meetings in 90 days. We're going to do a TAP evaluation. Whatever the TAP evaluation recommends, we're going to start with intensive outpatient treatment. I'm going to want field visits 2 times per month. And if probation wants one of those field visits to count as a reporting, it can. The MRT course, 120 hours of community service restitution. 40 of those hours will be waived if you provide proof of the COVID vaccination. Court is not requiring you to get the COVID vaccination, but if you do, 40 of those hours will be waived. Parenting classes, triple T. Once you complete that, the entirety of the community service hours will be waived. Proof of employment within 30 days. There should be no employment as a home health care provider or with minors. And there's to be no unsupervised contact with minors. Probation, is there anything else she needs? Is there anything else you need from me in order to be successful?
Everything, the addresses and everything's on there, right?
I'm sorry, what?
All the addresses to attend.
Oh, they're gonna give it to you. Probation will let you know, okay?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
And this court, communication is key to be successful on probation. I require that people report. Don't turn up missing. You understand?
I understand.
All right, I'm showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes, yes. Ma'am.
Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Understand.
All right, we can go off the record. Good luck to you. I mean, I have nothing against tattoos, but if you're going to get a tattoo, make sure it's not while you're intoxicated.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
good luck.
Yes, if you can bring them out. Who's here? Marcelo Alonso. Come forward. Can you give her her attorney's cell phone number? I mean, his business number. Her attorney is Bill Simmons. If you can take the witness stand, please. All right, and Ms. Ferguson, on her, if we can have a regular reset. What date? All right, we'll bring you back on January 12th, and she's going to give you contact information for your attorney. It's actually Will Simmons, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judge, may I approach off the record?
Yes.
Judge, I talked with Juan Martinez about this testimony today.
Mhm.
I do not think it's okay to change it.
Mhm.
But if they do, then it's what we can to ask them to do.
Oh, no, you just sit there.
Which is what we said.
Yes.
I'll do it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, I'm sitting back there with the bench.
Oh, no, you can, we'll have a chair for you. Yes, yes, you're welcome. And I think there should be. Let's see if we have a chair. Just a second. Do we have an extra chair for defense counsel to sit there?
Yeah. One with a nice pad in it.
Oh, no, 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 that's for the jurors. Oh, here,
There you go.
Okay.
all right, is there anyone else who's here from this morning's docket?
Can I email you on those trial cases? or
What,
somebody?
Oh, well, I need to know who those are. Set them aside.
So.
Thank you.
Somebody that you need.
Yeah, you can bring another one. I signed it. I think they may have taken it to the back with some other stack. But yeah, you can do another one.
I talked to the cop. They are not planning on charging with anything. They're not going to be. I still told him the.
And Deputy Laura, can we see if the jurors are ready?
Now, they may ask you if Montana will look at the fact of the odds. It's okay, answer this, yes or no. With that. As long as I'm not talking about a review thing. That's the case. Yeah, this was if you. If I go like this and it's okay, let's read this, then give me a few minutes, okay? And again, just take a deep breath,
Yeah, just give me one.
think about your answer and then answer. Okay. I'd recommend you answer to the jury panel. But you know, it's your call as to how you do it. Okay. So, it'll be okay.
All right, I'm being told that everyone is outside. At least that's what I hear Deputy Laura saying. Are both parties ready to proceed?
It's right.
Thank you.
And Judge, just if we could, we want to make sure that court was aware that we did have that motion eliminating regarding certain items that we were to approach. If the state was going to get into any issues regarding drug usage, was in possession of illegal drugs, using illegal drugs.
All right, well, what I can tell you with regards to the motion, and let me, now that I see where this case is appears to be going, we're on the record, Brenna.
Oh, I wasn't in here.
That's okay.
Okay.
We're on the record now.
Okay.
All right. So with regards to the motion and limiting with regards to drug use, I don't know what the witness's testimony going to be, but if the witness's testimony is related to drug usage by your client and the other parties, then that's coming in. If it happened at or near the time of these alleged incidences, then it'll be coming in. So state if that's the case, you'll have to lay the foundation for, of course, for the time when this would have occurred. But if it's something that's in the past, and when I say the past, the distant past, then I'll make a ruling on that. Is there anything else with regards to the motion and limiting from this witness potentially?
I don't believe from this particular witness.
All right. All right, we're ready to bring the jurors in.
Judge, can you testify without the mask?
Yes. Yes, yes. That's nice to move that, right?
Yeah.
All right, yes.
All right, for the jury?
Yes.
You think? No. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, state, call your next witness.
They call Juan Angel Martinez.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. State your name for the record, please.
Juan Martinez.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the gentleman who's sitting to the right of Mr. Martinez is his attorney, Mr. Robert Featherson. All right, state, you may proceed.
You are Juan Angel Martinez,
Yes, sir.
and you are in orange.
Yes, sir.
That means that you are a resident of the Bexar County Jail.
Yes, sir.
Now, you are a resident of the Bexar County Jail because there was a plea agreement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Not with me, right?
No.
These were different prosecutors,
Yes, sir.
and different prosecutors made a plea agreement with you.
I'm going to object to relevance, Ben.
That'll be overruled.
Different prosecutors made a plea agreement with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as a result, you pled guilty and
I'm going to object to leading.
permission to treat as an adverse witness.
All right, once you establish that, then the court will consider that objection will be sustained.
Was the plea agreement with another party?
Yes, sir.
Or what was the plea agreement with the other prosecutor?
That would have to testify. When it takes it to trial.
In terms of your charge,
I'm sorry.
in terms of what you pled to?
I don't get what you're asking.
You pled guilty to murder,
Yes, sir.
and you're in regard to this particular case.
Yes, sir.
And how many years did you get?
24.
And that was not with me, correct?
No, sir.
Different prosecutor.
Yes, sir.
Have you already been sentenced?
Yes, sir.
And I had you brought over.
Yes, sir.
Now, in terms of your Fifth Amendment right, you had an opportunity to talk to your lawyer.
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that once you plead, you no longer have a Fifth Amendment right?
Yes, sir.
In addition to pleading, did you plea as a party with other people?
Yes, sir.
And what other people did you agree that you committed the murder with?
Richard MONTEZ and Andres Martinez.
Now, back in 2018, where were you living?
The Castellano Courts,
What address?
928 Angela Walk.
And who was living with you?
My mother, Andres Martinez. My cousin George, Lopez, and his father, George Lopez.
Andres, and his relation to you?
He is my cousin.
And when did the defendant Richard Montez join your group?
I can't remember exact date.
How long had he been staying there in relation to the shooting? On February the 2nd of 2008.
2 days a day.
So he hadn't been there very long.
I was there.
Had you met him before?
Yes, sir.
So you know who he was.
Yes, sir.
What is, it's Richard Anthony Montez, but what does he go by?
And
And that would be short for Anthony.
yes, sir.
So a day or two beforehand, he joins you at 928 Angela Walk.
Yes, sir.
Is that in the county of Bear in the state of Texas?
Yes, sir.
In 2018, how old were you?
I was 18 years old.
And how old was your cousin, roughly?
20, 19, 20.
How old was the defendant, aunt?
Not sure.
Much older than you.
Yes, sir.
Did you look up to him?
No, sir.
Did
No, sir.
he was older than you, was he not?
Yes, sir.
Consider him a friend at the time.
Yes, sir.
Now, on February the 2nd of 2018, that night, were you drinking that night?
No, sir.
What about aunt?
Objection, I'm reading good.
That'll be overruled.
Was aunt drinking?
No, sir.
Was he smoking anything?
Marijuana,
What else was he on?
ice,
And what is ice?
I don't know. It's a drug.
Methamphetamine?
Yes, sir.
Now, when he's on ice, can you tell? In terms of his eyes,
Yes, sir.
and what happens to his eyes?
They're just more open. He's more aware.
And And in addition to sort of being more aware, when he's on ice at that time, on that night, what's his behavior like?
Jumpy. Paranoid.
And when you say jumpy and paranoid, what do you mean by that?
Like he's just fidgety.
Was you concerned about cars driving by?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you have an opportunity to look outside to see cars driving by?
No, sir. We went outside.
But while you were outside, did you notice any unusual traffic?
It was no, sir.
It was just a normal day.
Yes, sir.
And do you recall when it was that he used, in terms of ice before the shooting? About how long?
Not 100% sure, sir.
Ballpark, approximately.
Same day.
Within a couple hours?
More than a few.
And you said that he was paranoid that night, right?
Yes, sir.
What was he worried about?
Somebody come into my house to
He worried about
harm
the
us.
car.
Objection to reading again.
Sustained.
In terms of the traffic, what was he concerned about? cars?
That somebody was gonna, or just that there was more cars than usual.
But in terms of when you were out there, what additional traffic, if any, did you see?
It's a regular weekend.
And so that day, February the 2nd of 2018, or around that time, did he pass out any weapons?
Yes, sir.
Where did the weapons come from? I'm sorry, in terms of what he was carrying.
A bag.
So he had a bag,
Yes, sir.
and what did he get out of the bag?
Well, the firearms.
So he started passing out weapons out of a bag.
Yes, sir.
How many weapons did he give you?
One.
What about your cousin Andres?
One.
And how many weapons did he have?
Two.
What weapons, in terms of handguns or rifle?
One rifle, one handgun.
And where did he keep the rifle?
Inside my living room.
Was it by the door,
Yes, sir.
the front door?
Yes, sir.
So all three of you are armed with handguns
Yes, sir.
that night. In terms of the guns, were they loaded?
Yes, sir.
So close to midnight, all of you have loaded handguns. What happens?
Well, we go outside and we smoke. We're smoking, and this car pulls up fast near the dumpsters. I can't remember what the street name is called, but Angela and where to connect. And two elderlies, they walk, and they're walking in front of us. Well, Richard approaches them, starts talking. They start arguing, and then when I see somebody reaching for a weapon, I pull out my weapons and I tell them we don't want problems.
Hold on. First of all, you agree with me afterwards, after the shooting was over. How long were you in your apartment with your cousin and the defendant?
Before or after?
After the shooting, before before you surrendered yourself to SWAT?
I'm not sure when they came back in. I'm not aware when they came back into the house.
You were there for 8 or 9 hours, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there you had the opportunity to talk about things, correct?
No, sir.
You didn't have the opportunity.
Well, we had the opportunity, yes, but
Now, in terms of what happened, this is your story, correct?
yes, sir.
Now, in terms of these two guys who said pull up, had you ever seen them?
No, sir.
And when they pulled up, what happened in terms of the two guys? What did they do?
They were just walking in front of our apartment.
They weren't making any aggressive moves.
No, sir.
They weren't flashing any weapons.
Objection,
Sir.
the leading judge.
Gotta be overruled.
Did you see anything on the two that made you think that, that they're dangerous, that they had weapons?
No, sir.
And so in terms of their walking, was there anything aggressive or suspicious about the way they walked?
No, sir.
So it was one guy and a much older guy.
Yes, sir.
And so they were just walking.
Yes, sir.
And what happened?
Him and Richard, them and Richard got into an altercation.
Who initiated the conversation?
Richard,
So these guys are watching, and what does Richard do as they're walking?
he approaches them and says, like, what's up? What do y'all want? Basically.
Because he's high on meth and he's aggressive.
Objection, the leading judge.
Sustained.
What was his demeanor like when he was asking these questions?
I'm not sure.
Did it seem like it was part of his continuing paranoia?
Yeah, it was just the same as had been for the past couple hours.
So these two guys are just walking by and then he confronts
Yes, sir.
them. What's he saying to them?
I'm not sure
Why is that?
because they're talking in Spanish and English and I don't understand Spanish.
But he is confronting them.
Yes, sir.
And then what happened?
They get into altercation and,
When you say altercation, we're talking about words,
yes, sir.
so they're arguing.
Yes, sir.
And so what happens?
And then I feel like one's reaching for his waist, so I pull my weapons out and I took.
When you said reaching for his waist, at any point, did you ever see either of the two guys ever have a weapon?
No, sir.
A gun, a knife,
No, sir.
a bat?
No, sir.
So you're claiming you saw them reach for something in their waist.
Yeah, I felt like they were. Yes, sir.
And so when you saw that, what did you do?
I pointed my weapons at them.
Weapons?
Yes, sir.
How many weapons did you have?
2 handguns.
So you pointed two handguns at them.
Yes, sir.
And what happens when you pointed two handguns?
I told them that we don't want no problems. Just leave or go to where you're going. And that's what they did. They turned around and started walking away.
In terms of Richard Ants, the defendant, and your cousin Andres, did they pull out guns?
Not sure. They're on my side view. I couldn't see them.
So you pull out your two handguns, and then what happens?
And then, well, like I said, they turn around and they start walking away. So I put my weapons away.
So you point two handguns at them, and they decide they need to leave.
Yes, sir.
And so where did they go?
Back to the car,
And where was their car?
right in front of the dumpsters on that street in Angela.
And as they're trying to leave, where is your cousin Andres and where's the defendant?
They're on the still on my side view while I'm watching these guys walk away.
And does your the defending aunt say anything?
That they have to do something because they're gonna come back. Or they might come back.
When you say do something, you mean something like you have to take them out or something like that?
Objection to leading, Judge.
Oh, that'll be overruled.
Specifically, what did he say?
He said, we have to do something, we have to take them out. Or they might come back.
And who is he telling that he has to take them out?
I am not sure.
But Andres is with him, your cousin?
Yes, sir. They're both on the side of me.
So the defendant's saying you have to take them out, they're gonna come back. Have they done anything to justify any type of violence?
No, sir.
And so he says you have to take them out, they're gonna come back. Did they do anything to make you think that they were gonna come back?
No, sir.
So after the defendant and his cousin, your cousin are on the side, he says you have to take them out because they're gonna come back. What happens?
Before I can even look their way or say no, chill out, or finish saying no, chill out, shots were fired.
When he says that, does he approach them?
I'm sorry.
When he makes that statement about having to take them out, what does aunt and your cousin do? Where do they start heading off in a particular direction? Or do they stand there?
They were just standing there, or that I could tell from
When did they start moving toward where the two guys?
when the shots were fired.
So as shots were fired, they're moving toward them.
Yes, sir.
And when did you see them draw their weapons?
I didn't see them draw their weapons.
But you knew they were firing.
Yes, sir.
How do you know they were firing?
Because it was right next to me.
You hear them
The
fire.
sounds. Yes, sir.
And could you see them with their hands up?
Not right there, but when they were walking down, yes, sir.
All right, so later down, you saw them with their hands up.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever fire your weapon?
No, sir.
And what weapon did you have?
I had a Millennium G2 Taurus 9mm.
Now, you understand that there's some shell casings found that match your weapon,
I'm aware.
and so you still insist that you did not fire your weapon,
Yes, sir.
but you've taken a plea deal with some other prosecutor.
Yes, sir.
And so in terms of, the defendant and your cousin Andres, they're firing at these two guys as they're trying to leave.
Yes, sir.
And then what happens?
And then I hear my mother coming down the stairs screaming. So, like, what's going on? What's going on? I turn around, I go back inside it. That way, in case if they did shoot back, my mother, if they had guns, my mother wouldn't get hit.
Well, what about the two guys, the older guy and the older guy and the other guy? Did they get to their car?
Yes, sir.
And could you see their car drive away?
No, sir.
In terms of the defendant and your cousin Andre, you said that you saw them pointing down the street.
Yes, sir.
When was this?
When I was taking my mother upstairs, there's a window in the Casiano courts and on our staircases. You could see them just running down the middle of the street, shooting after the car.
So it's both your cousin Andres and then this defendant shooting down the street
Yes, sir.
at the car that's fleeing.
Yes, sir.
In terms of the defendant and Andres, could you tell who was fired first?
No, sir.
And as that car fleeing down the street, it was a dark colored gray car.
It was dark, so I believe so. It was a dark car.
But it wasn't, was it doing anything to aggressive other than trying to get away?
No, sir.
And there's no reason why that car should have been fired.
No, sir.
And what, to the best of your recollection, what gun did Andres have?
Glock 40.
And what gun did the defendant have?
XT 9mm. Spring.
And you are aware that Andres puts 40 in his hands.
Objection to leading, Judge?
Sustained.
Are you aware if Andres has a different story about which gun he had?
No, sir.
No?
No, I'm not aware.
You did talk to your lawyers, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so they didn't tell you in terms of what he said?
No,
I'll rephrase. I'll rephrase. Would it surprise you to know that your cousin has a different?
no, sir.
It wouldn't surprise you to know that no one wants to take ownership of the fort.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
No one wants to take ownership of shooting the 40, right?
No, sir.
Objection to leading, Judge?
Overrule.
And how many shell casings of the 40 would you expect to be out there? A lot.
Objection to leading?
Yes, sir.
Sustained.
How many shell casings would you expect there to be?
40, 50 rounds.
Could you tell how many times Andres fired? You know,
No, sir.
how about how many times the defendant fired?
No, sir.
But you do know that both of them fired at that car as we leaving.
Yes, sir.
Now, after that car was fleeing down that street, what did the defendant do?
I'm not sure.
In terms of his AR, the rifle, what did he do?
Oh, he when they started walking down, he started shooting with his handgun. I'm guessing his handgun ran out of ammo or ammunition, and he ran back inside to grab the AR.
And then when he ran back inside and grabbed the AR, what did he do?
It didn't work.
He went back outside,
Yes, sir.
tried to use it,
Yes, sir.
but it jammed on him.
Yes, sir.
So at some point, did everyone come back into the apartment?
At some point, yes, sir.
And did everyone just sort of try to play dead for the police instead of, shut everything down?
Yes, sir.
Ever an extended period of time?
I'm not sure.
It was all night, right?
Yes, sir.
And you could certainly have the opportunity to talk with three people, with you and your cousin and the defendant about what happened.
If we talked, yes, sir.
Certainly enough time to kind of work on your story a bit.
Yes, sir.
In fact, when you were at the MAG office, at the magistrate, when you guys were arrested, did the defendant say anything?
Just that fight for self-defense.
But you were there,
Yes, sir.
and it's not self-defense,
No, sir.
and that's why you pled.
Yes, sir.
All right, fine.
Yes. I believe it's plugged in.
If this is Angela Walk,
Yes, sir.
and this is 928 Angela Walk, and this is Placosa, okay? The defendant and your cousin, what street were they firing down?
Go so.
And which direction was that car trying to flee away from? Was it
That way.
going down Placosa?
Yes, sir.
And I know it's been 5 years, but do you remember the car that had been hit?
No, sir.
Okay. Page exhibit 163, do you remember the weapons that were found?
Yes, sir.
Who put that there?
I am not sure.
Wasn't you.
No, sir.
Show you 398. Benito Gallegos. You'd never seen that guy before.
No, sir.
So during this entire period, two guys that were in the car, you never saw them with a weapon or do anything aggressive.
No, sir.
Now, the person that you've identified as shooting down at the car, Richard Montez, Anthony Montez or Ant, see him in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Please point to him and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing.
A black suit. With a tie.
On the end,
Yes, sir.
let the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant, Richard Anthony Montez. past witness.
Now, Juan, when did you plead to your case?
I don't know the exact date, sir.
Okay, it was certainly prior to this trial date, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you actually gave a statement when you were taken to the police station, right?
Yes, sir.
And you talked to the police officers there freely.
Yes, sir.
You also willingly submitted to a DNA sample, right?
Yes, sir.
And as far as your plea agreement, you also gave a written statement as well,
Yes, sir.
right? And that's called a proffer, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you gave that statement, you met with your lawyer, the prosecutors in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And they had an opportunity to go over your testimony at that time, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, at the police station, you gave a statement. Would you agree that when you were asked there at the police station as to what was going on, that you weren't aware that anybody had been shot?
Yes, sir.
It was a surprise to you to find out that somebody was actually struck with a bullet, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, at that time, you made statements as to who had guns, right?
Yes, sir.
And you certainly didn't have any idea that any of those guns actually struck somebody, right?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, when you identified who had what gun, you could have, had you shot, identified yourself as being a shooter, had it been your gun that struck somebody, right?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
Well, you didn't know whose gun had struck any particular person, right?
Yes, sir.
And so when you identified who had the 40, you identified it as your cousin, right?
Yes, sir.
And you also agreed that you stated that you believe that it was Andres who shot first, right?
Don't remember, sir.
Now, you also gave a written statement, right?
Um,
My approach, if
Yes.
you'd like to refresh your memory, this was a statement that you made, given to us as a proffer. If you could read this paragraph here to yourself.
yes, my lawyer
Okay,
did this draft.
Okay. And so did you have an opportunity to read this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is your statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would you agree in your statement, you believe that that Andres shot first, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, in your statement, you also confirm again that it was Andres who had the Glock 40. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
Now, at the time that you spoke with the police officers, you didn't know whose gun was responsible for having shot either of the two people in this case, right?
No, sir.
Now, the state asked you some questions about whether you had time to talk about your story, but in your statements to the police, didn't you state that you had went to your mother's room that night?
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
Why did I go to my
Well,
mother's
you were
room?
scared, right?
Yeah.
In fact, you said that you were afraid and you told your mother that you froze, right?
Yeah.
And so who else was in that room with you and your mother?
Just me and my mother.
Okay. Did you talk to Andres that night after the shooting?
That night, no, sir.
Have you and Andres talked about this case since y'all were arrested?
No, sir.
And this is your cousin, right?
Yes, sir.
Is your blood club cousin?
Yes, sir.
And so you have more of a connection with Andres, right?
No, sir.
Well, so you only knew Richard for,
Before the shooting, yes, sir.
okay, you only knew Richard for a short period of time, right?
Yes, sir.
And so before that, you and Andres were obviously close, right?
Yes, sir.
You would come to your house
He
or your apartment,
he lived with me.
he lived with you. Okay. And so when you spoke to the police, you weren't trying to protect Richard at that point, right?
No,
And you weren't trying to protect Andres, right?
no, sir.
You told the police that you didn't shoot your weapon, correct?
Correct.
And you had two weapons, right?
Yes, sir.
That night, though, at the police station, initially, they only recovered the 40 Glock, the XP Springfield, and the AR rifle. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. In fact, you had hid your 9mm Millennium Taurus and the Smith and Wesson 40, is that right?
Correct.
And so they had to get some information from someone else that there was other weapons there, right?
Yes, sir.
And that information didn't initially come from you, did it?
No, sir.
Okay. Were you aware, or do you know if it was Richard Montez who let them know that there were other weapons?
I am not sure.
Okay. When they found those weapons, you had hid them in what?
Laundry basket.
Okay. And you also hid some magazines under a mattress?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you obviously were afraid that you might get yourself in trouble, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, at the time that this incident happened, you actually, you're telling this jury that you felt concerned that these people had a weapon, right?
Yes, sir.
And at the time of your interview with the police officers, you stated that these individuals, one of them here to have a bulge in his pants, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Certainly, how long have you looked at the Tatiana courts?
I can't remember exact time.
Okay. And so not everybody openly carries a gun, right? When people carry a gun, they don't always wear it on their side of their hip, do they?
No, sir.
In fact, would you believe that or would you say that you believe they mostly conceal their gun?
Yes, sir.
And so for somebody to have a weapon on them, you might think that they might be concealing it, right?
Yes, sir.
And so when somebody's reaching for their waistband, what came to your mind?
That he has a gun.
And it caused you to pull your gun, right?
Yes, sir.
You were scared for your own safety at that moment,
Yes, sir.
fair to say? And you told them, don't reach, right?
Yes, sir.
And did you hear other people shouting the same thing?
No, sir.
And so you said you froze at that moment, right? Or when did you freeze?
When the shooting started,
Okay.
when it was right next to me.
And so you can't really say how many shots either Richard or Andres fired, right?
No, sir.
And so you stated that you believe that when Richard ran out of bullets in his gun, that he went and got the AR. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And there is a 223 casing there at the sidewalk. Is that where he was standing when he had the AR-15?
Yes, sir. It was right there by my door.
Okay. And you didn't see him fire that rifle, did you?
No, sir.
Do you believe he fired that rifle?
I didn't see it.
Now, you said the vehicle parked at the dumpster or the dumpsters, right?
Yes, sir.
So if they were at the dumpsters, then the direction of their shots would have been towards those dumpsters, correct?
Yes, sir.
And those dumpsters are more of a, I guess, in line with the street of Angela Walk, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I'm standing in front of 928 Angela Walk, I'm looking at the dumpsters, I would be aiming towards Picosa, right?
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't be aiming down the street of Picosa, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, you saw those individuals get into the vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so the vehicle was facing down the street of Picosa? Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
And so while their shots are being fired at their direction, the shots would have, had they entered the vehicle, gone through the side of the car, right?
I believe so.
And so if during that time, Richard was shooting at the dumpsters, if he hit the car, it would have gone not from behind the vehicle, but from the side of the vehicle, right? Because of the car's position.
I would say the back end of the side. Yeah.
Now, you were also charged with a capital murder case, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were concerned that you might go to prison for life, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said you didn't fire a weapon, right?
Yes, sir.
And yet you still took a plea as a party to this case, right?
Yes, sir.
And there is some evidence that may support that you actually did fire a weapon, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, so you did go over the discovery with your lawyer, didn't you?
I can't remember that.
That's attorney-client privilege.
Sustained.
Did you have an opportunity to review the evidence in your case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you aware in that evidence there was a firearms report?
I don't remember.
Okay. Fair enough. It's fair to say, though, at the time that you spoke to the police and at the time you took your plea agreement, you were concerned about Juan Martinez, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's also fair to say that you weren't the only person taken into custody that night, right?
Yes, sir.
And there was, along with your cousin Andres and Richard Montez, there was also two other people that were questioned that night, right?
Yes, sir.
One of those was your cousin George,
Yes, sir.
and the other person was an individual named Henry Adame. Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know somebody by the name of Chino?
Not that I remember.
Okay, that's fair enough. Now, your cousin George was actually shot, correct?
Yes.
Days before this incident, correct?
Yeah.
How did that shooting occur?
Objection relevance, Judge.
Have parties approach.
Now, you said that you entered the apartment during the shooting and watched it from the upstairs. Is that correct?
I had a glance of it. Yes, sir.
Okay. How quickly did you retreat into the apartment?
Pretty quick.
So once the shooting started, you quickly retreated into the apartment, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so are there windows on the staircase?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you stop and watch? You said you had a glance.
I just turned like
Okay.
my head while I pushed my mother up.
And when you got into the room upstairs, what did you do?
I put my firearms away
Okay.
and put the magazines away,
Okay.
and then I laid on the bed.
And so while you were retreating into your room, you took a glance outside and you placed your firearms in secret. Is that right?
Yeah, and yeah.
While that was happening, did you continue to hear gunshots?
No, sir. No, sir.
And so as soon as so you were present for every single gunshot that was, you were present there on the premise, on the ground, when every single gunshot was taken?
No, sir.
So it's safe to say that while you were retreating, gunshots were still happening, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's also safe to say you didn't actually witness the remainder of that gunshot or the gunfight, right?
Just after the glance from the window, no, sir.
Now, you can only speak to what you heard or what you believe Richard may have said, right?
I'm sorry.
Well, you said that Richard had made a statement regarding we need to watch these guys. Something to that effect, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so you can only speak to what you heard, right? You can't say what anyone else heard that night.
No, sir.
Okay. There was a shotgun shell or a couple of shotgun shells. There was someone else that was present that night too, wasn't there?
I'm not that I'm aware of.
Now, when you looked at the evidence, did you become aware that there were shotgun shells present on the ground there?
No, sir.
When you looked at the evidence, did you become aware that there was a shotgun plug down the street?
A shotgun, what?
A wad of, from the shotgun being discharged, a wad of paper. Were
I'm
you
not aware of that.
And so when Richard fired and ran out of bullets, he then had to go back inside to retrieve the rifle, correct?
Yes, sir.
So at that point, after he fired the rounds that were in his gun, he was no longer able to fire any more rounds, right?
Correct.
And when you say that Andres had the Glock 40, that Glock 40 had the drum magazine, right?
Correct.
And you recall seeing the drum magazine.
Correct.
You recall seeing that gun in Andres's hands, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you had said that at the magistrate's office, Richard said fight for self-defense.
Yes, sir.
That wasn't in your statement at the police station, was it?
No.
Okay. And in fact, when you turned state's evidence, that's not your statement that you made to the prosecutors, was it?
No. We were in the
Oh, I'm asking
Magistrate,
you, I'm
actually.
asking you that this is. That statement that you just made on stand is the first time that you ever, at least to the police or the prosecutors, put that either on video or writing, right?
yes, sir.
And so prosecutors here at this table on my left, they met with you before your testimony today, correct?
Correct.
And they met with you recently, right?
Correct.
And so the first time that you made that statement, was that to these prosecutors here?
Yes, that I believe so. Yes, sir, I believe so.
You also said that Richard had approached, did he tell them they didn't want any problems, or who said that? We don't want any problems.
I said that.
Okay. You thinking that maybe that they were there and it caused some problems?
Well, no.
Had you ever seen them before?
No, sir.
Do you think they belong to that neighborhood?
Do they belong to that neighborhood?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Do you know why they were there?
No, sir.
Was it late?
It was late.
Y'all openly had weapons?
Yes, sir.
And you would agree that in exchange for your testimony, you received a lesser sentence than you could have faced, right?
Yes, sir.
Pass the witness.
Front behind the approach.
Yes. All right, State, with regards to your exhibits, did you want to question the witness, and then defense, did you want to take, I'm understanding you wanted to take the witness on voir dire after?
Yes, Judge.
Actually, Judge, I don't believe we can end it. I'll ask him.
Okay.
But I think the link has already been made to a prior witness. I think Brianna identified the car that Margarita was in, and I think that links the vehicle and the defendant.
All right, but did you want to ask?
Show me 328. Do you recognize that guy from that night?
No, sir.
All right, do you have questions?
No, Judge.
All right, then, we'll go off the record. Where did Mr. Cox go?
So, Judge, are you saying they are admitted or?
No, just give me one moment. Can I have Mr. Cox come in see if he's in his office at the courthouse? With regards to this matter, just give me a moment. I want to try to take up your witness issue. Where did he go? Maybe he's in the back offices. All right, everyone, just give me a moment. Let me see if I can get the attorney here, and you can mute us. All right, everyone, please be seated. So, defense, you mentioned, I guess, a statement or something. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
I'm sorry, just one moment. Everyone off the record for a second. All right, so we're back on the record. My understanding is there's some statement that you're saying you did not receive defense?
Yes, Judge.
And what statement is that?
The defendant, Juan Martinez testified on stand that he originally gave a statement just made on stand as stating that at the magistrates, Richard MONTEZ stated we need to fight for self-defense. And he also testified that that statement was not in his statement to the police. The day that he was interviewed on February 3rd, 2018. He also stated that statement was not given in his proffer. And that the first time that statement was made was to the state, in this case, the prosecution in this case, when they met with them. And so that information, the first time we heard about it was during trial, in the middle of trial, in violation of 3914 and in violation of Brady.
All right, state.
Well, Judge, if he's telling me something, as I interviewed him the week before trial, it's work product. But certainly they had the opportunity to, my understanding is they interviewed Andres Martinez, who's identified as a witness. And they knew that Juan Angel Martinez was a witness. For some reason, they chose to interview one, but not the other, and that's their decision.
It does not matter whether we chose to interview this person or had the opportunity. The fact is the state did receive information and failed to disclose it to defense.
All right, and you stated that this was Brady. How is this Brady?
It's information that had we known, we would have been able to prepare for, investigate, and prepare for cross-examination on.
Okay, so what are you requesting?
A mistrial.
All right, that'll be denied. We're gonna come back tomorrow and you can speak to the witness if you wish to speak to the witness. Is there any objections to the defense speaking to this witness?
Judge, I don't have a problem. Well, throughout.
I know he's currently on the witness stand being questioned, but is there any objections to the defense speaking to the witness about this statement?
Because I don't have an objection, but obviously I think Mr. Featherston may need to be there for him.
Yes.
I don't have any objection.
All right, so this is what will happen. Can you, oh, Mr. Featherston's right there. Yes. All right, you're on the side. Yes.
Are we off the record right now?
No, we're not. So then you can speak to the witness. Is there anything else?
Do you want to take up the photo issue of Margarita Vigil right now, Judge, or tomorrow?
With regards to the photo issue, we'll take up that tomorrow. I think we need to handle this now so that the deputies can make sure that he goes back before 5.
Okay, Judge. And then just one more thing in regards to the jury charge, we're going to be asking for self-defense. So I don't know when we want to start discussing that.
Okay, all right. I always try to anticipate, so certain things have already been anticipated and we can argue over the charge. But in defense, we can go off the record. I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but do you anticipate calling witnesses?
Yes.
All right, so what we'll do is as witnesses are called, I usually will send emails to the charge writers, the brain trust upstairs, and tell them what I see. And then what I do is I will give you all a copy of the proposed charge and you all can review it. And there may be some things that you want to put in, some things that you want to take out, and we can have a discussion over it. Okay. All right. So I'll see you all tomorrow at 9:30.
You want to take up Mr. Cox's issue?
Yes. Thank you, Mr.
While
Cox.
he's here. That's promotion.
Yes. Yes, you can approach.
Thanks. Emotion.